Okay, hi, Butcher and Barrel. Here we go. Just waiting for Lyle to come in. We thought that today could be a fun day to talk a little bit about whiskey making, but not from the production side, more from the side where it's about, okay, well, we obviously have already covered all the things that go into the malt, the mash, the distilling, the casks. But then how do you get kind of whiskey to the
Hello.
bottom? And here he is. Hello, mate.
How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, buddy. Oh, you're front of house today, huh?
Yeah, sorry. One sec. Yeah, crazy day, Saturday service. So, yeah.
Very good. I'm going to adjust the angle here. And Instagram, if you ever listen to anything that we do, please let us edit things a tiny bit after the fact. And please, let us see what the frame's going to actually look like once someone joins. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Oh, well. How you doing?
Sorry I missed the 5:30 slot, but literally just finished. So.
Yeah, no, all good. How you doing? What's this all about? I didn't know you could grow
think?
facial hair.
Yeah. I even trimmed it down to,
Yeah. You just living in the wrong country. You should move to the States now. You'll be set. Yeah, so I'd said all I've said so far is that we were planning to talk about whiskey making in the sense of we've covered grains, waters, all these things, and then even a single cask. But as you can see behind me, and the fact that I just pulled down a bottle as well, we make a lot of whiskey, and so I thought it might be interesting to speak about it almost more from a commercial side, in the sense that at the end of the day, it's a business, right? We make whiskey and then we sell bottles of whiskey, and obviously, you have to have a brand and you have to have everything else. And so I thought that could be an interesting one, because we do have we've got a new, I don't have it yet, but we've got a new expression of Highland Park coming out, which you'll see in the UK as well, Highland Park Cask Strength. And the first batch is going to be released in a few weeks' time, I think. Yeah, so I thought it'd be a good time to jump in and talk about that. Does that work?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I think we all know that we make whiskey, but then the ideas behind making a new whiskey or a new line of whiskey, there must be a lot of people. There must be a lot of back of house people going, right, what's the next thing we want to make? But then,
To your point, I mean, it's a twofold thing, right? There's the liquid, there's the physical liquid, which is always different, just like every animal that you get in is going to be different than the animal before. It's got so many similarities. Some things are the same, but there's all these unique little differences. The difference for you guys is that, you're putting out a cut and out it goes. It's got its own intrinsic thing, but it's a one-time done deal. The craft for you is making sure that you're cutting in a way so that you're delivering the most precise and exact, you almost want to honor the animal by preparing that particular cut in the best way for that animal. Well, what does that mean when it comes to whiskey, when we've got all of these different casks? And obviously, if every single cask we put out is a single cask, well, you might not like one that you try, but you might like thousands of others. Yeah.
I think also another big difference between you and I within our industries kind of thing is I can age a piece of beef for 30 days. I get something brand new in and go, right, 30 days, I think that'll be perfect. Whereas you guys developing a new whiskey, it could be 4 years down the line. It could be 10 years down the line to get your return on it. So
this thing touches on an interesting thing, right? And it's often kind of like a misconception is not right, but way of thinking about it. So we have our master whiskey maker, who's Gordon Motion, right? It's the gentleman who is responsible for taking all the casks that we have, choosing which ones to pull and create, whiskey with, whether it's Highland Park 12, 18, whether it's a limited release. But more importantly, he has to decide which casks to leave, either for himself or for, I was going to say predecessor, his successor, whenever that happens. And it's not as if a lot of people will ask how do you know it's going to be how do you know when it's going to be a 12-year and it's an 18? I mean, isn't it just so simple, right? It's okay, I need 5,000 casks of 18-year ready by this date. Great, in they go, leave it. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Right. Every cask as it develops, changes and offers something different. It's kind of in that same way. Every animal you get in, you're like, 30 days, this is good to go. No, this guy, for whatever reason, maybe that's not going to cut it. Or maybe it's a case of like, actually, this is going to be bomb if we do this with it instead.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where the similarities are, right, between the two.
Or I'm not selling enough of it, so it needs to stay in the fridge for longer. Or I'm selling too much, so it needs to go. It goes now, like.
Right.
Yeah.
And like we're fortunate, of course, that once we do decide to stop aging and we pull it out, after cask harmonization and everything else, if we put things into, we can always put things into like stainless steel or into bottles and it's done. Stays there. We've made the 18, it's in the bottles, not changing. You guys can't really do it. It's like, okay, it's ready, I'm done. It's like, wow, now I've got to get it out the door really quick.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So the difference is, like, I think, like we talked about this process for trees, right? For our cask, that it's what is it? I think it's like a 5 to 6 year journey for our cask, right? In the sense that we pick the tree, gets like a year and a half, 2 years aging in the forest, gets built. Aging in the forest, aging in Spain, gets filled for another like year to a year and a half with sherry. In between that, there's some more dry seasoning as well as the shipping and the shipping and the shipping. It takes like 5 years just to make the cask. And then when you know that you're going to have to then, let's say we're not putting anything in bottle until it's 12 years of age. And like some of our whiskies, you'll find younger than that in there, for sure. But for like our core expressions, the 12-year, that's going to be the youngest liquid going in. Even if we've got a 5-year whiskey that tastes like an 18-year, we can't use it because we're making a 12.
Yeah.
How far down the line, you're thinking about this product? It's this much longer arc. And so I feel like we've talked a lot about, kind of like Marie Stanton, who's our distillery manager, and her team. It's their job to physically produce the liquid and get it into the cask. And it's their job to get it going into the cask to Gordon Motion specification.
Right.
Gordon steps in. And Gordon knows every step of the process intimately. He's done brewing courses and things like this, but he steps in when it comes to like, right, now I'm making whiskey. Right now we're making this into like a final liquid that's going to go out.
Yeah.
And so things aren't going to go away. 12's not going away. 18's not going away. This Highland Park Delight 17 years limited release. We only made X amount of bottles. Not being, we're not doing it again. That we should. We're not. And so, how and why did that happen? Right. Is the question. Yeah. And so, like within our industry, we'll call it NPD, new product development. Right.
Right.
I see Macallan Zach, good friends, just come online. Like Macallan's a great example. Every year, the Macallan, up until this year, so last year, has been coming out with editions, right? Edition 1, edition 2, edition 3. Edition 6 this year, coming out soon. Last edition. People lose their mind about these like limited releases when they come out, right? Everyone always cares about what the next color is going to be. People do like fake mock-ups of colors. I've seen some really ludicrous colors that people have put out there. I know that Zach and I know for sure, and a lot of it's like you see like real leaks, fake leaks. You just see everyone really care about these new whiskeys. How does it happen? In that case, we know we're working on this project, so they'll go to the whiskey maker there. And it's like, well, I already know that this is coming the next year. It really then becomes more of like a brand identity decision. Okay, so we've made this release, let's say from the Macallan side, that's going to be focused on collaboration. We've worked with a perfumer, maybe we're working with architects or architecture in mind. Maybe we're working with some of the best restaurateurs and chefs in the world.
Yeah.
Coming up with that next one is really almost like a marketing endeavor, right? That now the lifestyle, the brand, the feeling of the brand can direct where that next, idea for a whiskey is going to come from. And both you and I used to work in dance. Like we're used to this idea of having like a stimulus and then like really taking it in this contemporary interpretive way and somehow delivering movement that communicates that. We spent plenty of time back in the day and doing doing I'd say weird things. It's not weird, but it's just like it is when you're not used to it. So when you think of Highland Park, we're maybe wanting to tell the story of our like history and heritage, part of which of course we're ruled by the Viking kingdoms for a number of years. Maybe wanting to talk about that standing apart from the rest of Scotch production. And so we might come out with a series that looks at, we have the all of the gods that we used to look like Thor, Loki, Freya, Odin. So what will happen is then it kind of comes down to this creative play moment where Gordon Motion will get the opportunity to basically either be given a brief, have a brief, or get to take part in choosing exactly what this brief is or the stimulus is. And
Right.
then really it gets into play, right? It's about taking and exploring all of the casks available, and again, knowing which ones to pull that are going to be right for making the whiskey, which ones to leave for later and leave for himself wherever he needs to. And so, coming around the corner, cask strength is going to be part of our core range, right?
Right.
What does that mean? A cask strength whiskey. It means that we've not added any water since it's going to barrel. Like, single barrels behind me are going to be cask strength whiskeys. But in this case, it's not a single cask, multiple casks, which means that each time that we make this release, it's going to be a bit different. So what he's going to do is he's going to pull samples from everything, and we're sampling through everything constantly, blend them together until we get to a place that we're happy that kind of like the brief fits with like the liquid, whether this is like the naming of it, whether it's the idea of the whiskey, whether it's the story of the whiskey, like Full Volume from Highland Park. This guy here was all about the idea of like, turning it up to 11 or, basically like, cranking up the...
Yeah.
It's like, pictures of Marshall stacks, music inspired, cranking up the volume. And so we used exclusively first fill ex bourbon casks, which really like pushes and drives a lot of like bright vanillas and tropical notes, but also allows a lot of the smoke to come through. So it's the idea, it's interpreted this way, and then we take it into this liquid taste, nose, sensory manifestation that becomes the new whiskey.
Right.
Right? Yeah. So it's kind of no different to any creative process, right?
Right. But yeah. So when you make a new edition, that's a blended whiskey of everything that is right for that particular edition.
Yeah. So if you're jumping up to like the McCann side, like with the edition series, so yeah, it's they've got the idea, they've got the brief.
Yeah.
And know what it is that maybe they're exploring or possibly collaborating with or thinking about. Then obviously it becomes this conceptual process of like, how do I express, communicate, or bring the essence of the brand to life?
Yeah.
And obviously we're using our liquid. It's not like we're ever going to get someone else's, obviously.
No.
It's inherently this, but it starts to transition into like storytelling, right? It's now, which is kind of, I guess, what I'm trying to get to is this. It's a two-layered thing, right? You've got this really obvious big thing at the top, which is marketing. At the end of the day, we all make whiskey, and we're all making whiskey 90% the same way. We're using the same ingredients. We're sticking them into, we're mashing them together, sticking them in a kettle a couple of times, and sticking them into oak casks. Like everyone's doing that.
Yeah.
So then you've got this marketing stuff, which is like, well, how do we differentiate? How do we get people excited? Which is, very much like just like under the hood. When you stop and think about it, it's obvious. But obviously, when you go to a shelf, you shouldn't be noticing it, thinking it. It's like that sense of, I don't want to see an actor pretending to be the moon. I just want to see the moon. It's the same thing once it hits the shelf. It's the same for you. Once it's in the window, that needs to be the whole story of what it is that they're going to pick up. Like it had the whole package has to be like, that's it. That's what I'm having. And it's the same thing with whiskey. And so it's all of this marketing, brand, lifestyle things. But then, because none of that really matters, obviously at the end of the day, what it is it's almost just offering a new creative brief through which to explore the liquid that we already have.
Yeah, for sure.
And some casks can help deliver it, like the fire over here. We at one point had some port casks that were apparently in the market available for us to purchase. We don't typically buy port pipes, and Gordon couldn't turn them down. He was pretty actually. The date at which it happened, I don't think that he was responsible for buying them. So his predecessor will have bought them, saw how they were, developing, and then the liquid itself could be the inspiration for what it is that we do. If we have those exceptionally old casks that come out, that in of itself can be enough to be the inspiration for a whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean,
look at you just said that was fire up there. I mean, like you can see, I guess that the color of that bottle is not the glass been colored in that fashion. It's actually the color of the whiskey inside.
Oh, no. This is definitely the bottle. It's almost empty. This is the bottle.
I mean, like, Jesus Christ, they really nailed that one, didn't they?
That would be something. We always have natural color coming from the casks. the porter casks were not that red.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk about this new Highland Park that's coming out.
Can
you say so much about that?
I think and hope I can. It's coming out in a couple of weeks. I must be able to talk about it a bit. And if there's something I wasn't supposed to say, I guess I'll get a slap on the wrist. I didn't see an embargo on the information. So I'm super excited because I think, cask strength. So the idea behind it with cask strength, right, is it gets you a lot closer to the distillery. I think we've talked about chill filtration in the past. Highland Park, for our core expressions, like for our core range of 12 and 18, we have a very, very mild chill filtration, but we do still go through it. Right. We don't do it aggressively. It's not sub-zero. It's actually like 2 or 3 degrees cooler than the Orkney climate anyway. So it's like, well, the cask is already this temperature. It doesn't really feel like we're actually chilling it because just like we left it outdoors for a day instead almost. And so that gets rid of, what happens is when you bring it below a certain alcoholic percentage by adding water, it will become cloudy, right? And then as you drop temperature, it can become cloudy. So we could make a whiskey, we could ship it to people and it's clear, it lands where they are and it gets cold in the warehouse. They open it and it's all cloudy. For me, I'd be like, I don't care. I'm perfectly happy with this. But a lot of people would care. What it is it's just these long chain congeners coming out of solution. And if you warm it up, it'll become crystal clear. But we go through this process. Right. Above a certain alcoholic strength, you don't need to do that because it won't come out of solution. It won't become cloudy unless you water it down. Even though we do it mildly, it takes out a small amount of flavor, and it obviously irks us because, we put all this energy into getting as much flavor as possible. Why would you, again, we've got it down to a T where, you completely negligible, but it is still a process. So with cask strength, you don't have it. It's not been adulterated. It's not been watered down. It's not been brought down, proofed down, whatever you want to call it. Which then gives you as a consumer a choice. Right? Now all of a sudden I can say, right, I actually want to have it completely neat. I want to have it with that bit of water. Maybe I want it in a cocktail where before, maybe 43% in a cocktail stirred down was getting a bit too weak for me, so I would like it neat. But now, because it's cask strength, I can really drive, each to their own. Don't lose your mind depending on what your constitution is. But if you wanted to have it in an old fashioned, or if you wanted to have it in Manhattan, or if you wanted to have it in a tiki pineapple drink, whatever you do you.
It goes back to what you said, drink it how you want to drink it.
It's your whiskey. My only preference would be with other people. I think that's the best way to drink it. But that's life's too short.
Don't you drink it on your own in a corner.
Something else. And so. It's a weird thing. It's always annoyed me when I've seen these things come out called cask strength. If it was actually cask strength, the alcohol would, the ABV would constantly change, right? The ABV would change all the time because every cask is different. And I've seen many, many releases on shelves from other companies where it's like, oh, it's this cask strength. But the ABV never changes. Or are you just picking the exact cask that are going to be it shifts between casks massively. So what Gordon's done is we're going to be doing this as a yearly batch or a yearly release, if you like. And so this first release that comes out, I'll try and squirrel some aside and put it into a little driver bottle for you. Is going to be predominantly American oak sherry seasoned casks. So still all sherry casks, but not all. I think it's predominantly American in this case. And it's
a little bit lighter in color and things then.
A little bit lighter in color. Look at this.
I'm learning.
More vanillins. You might get some of those more tropical, things. You might get a little bit of soft toffee notes in there, things like this. And it's going to be coming out at 63.3. Now the wonderful thing is that next year, taste it, try it. If it's your jam, get a few bottles because next year's going to be different. So next year, what's going to happen is, it will come in again. It will be cask strength, but it'll be a different ABV. Maybe next year, Gordon's like, right, actually this year, these casks are ready, and I want to use these casks for this. So it gives him a lot more freedom and flexibility to be like, right, these are the casks because it produces this whiskey. And so, we'll have to wait and see what it is that's going to happen, when we get to next year.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what this is. So it's a non-age statement. Again, it's kind of takes off those shackles. So Gordon is pretty much free to be like, right, I'm going to produce the whiskey I want to produce for this year based off of the casks that are going to be ready to produce the whiskey that I want. It's a situation that if there is a younger whiskey that can really showcase itself well, we're going to put it in. It's much like making a wine, right? You go to Bordeaux, everything's a blend practically. It's practically all a blend of casks. or a blend of grapes. Same thing for the cask strength, and even more so when we don't have an age statement, is it really allows us to be concerned with flavor and not having to be so hung up and concerned about age. Because again, whiskies mature, they don't age. We're all getting older, but we're all maturing at very, very different rates. And that really is the case. Yeah, but that's the honest truth, and that's the honest truth for whiskies. Maybe more so than maybe not. Maybe equally so for people. So yeah, coming out around the corner. Hopefully in a few weeks' time, I'll be able to like actually have a bottle and come out and do a tasting with you on it. But yeah, so that's really the process. It's this combination of look, we know who we are, we make what we make. The liquid is the liquid. Every bottle that you have, if it's like a core range of whatever producer it is, if it says 12 years, obviously the distillery's promise to you as a consumer is that if you buy our 12 year, it's always going to look and smell and taste like this.
Right.
The fallacy in this is that no cask, for the most part, apart from occasions, no single cask typically can deliver the flavor profile of that 12 year that you buy. Right? We can only achieve that usually by taking lots of different casks that have lots of different complexities in them that when we bring them together can deliver the whole package.
Yeah.
Single barrels, apart from those exceptional ones, have a tendency to be a little bit more one-dimensional, which is great when you blend them because then you can pick and you can choose, make sure your color's correct and everything else. And so it's really about bringing all of them together and finding those stories to bring out, so that there's new things for us as consumers that we can be excited about. I love Highland Park. I love it when it's in ex-bourbon casks. I love the port casks. I love you name it. I just love what promotion does as well. So I get excited because it's like, great, I get to try, a new, to me, way of experiencing Highland Park and seeing how Gordon Motion has interpreted our whiskey now. So I suppose that's it. What you see on the shelf, at some point, everything is made by somebody, right? At some point, one person or a group of people chose, this is how this is going to be. How we get to making that decision could be marketing led, it could be liquid led. Some things can take longer, some things can be pretty fast turnaround. But really, it's all about bringing the distillery's liquid to life in ways that are meaningful for us to enjoy together, and meaningful as well, commercially speaking, like for the brand. We're not going to come out with, Fairy Princess Highland Park just because it makes no sense for Highland Park. And it's
not their brand.
It's not their brand. Now we can still make, but with our many releases, hopefully there's going to be somewhere within what we do that is a Highland Park that is perfectly fit for the Fairy Princess. Whenever they come along, there's going to be something because of what we do that the Fairy Princess is going to want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's it. That's kind of like the under the hood of like.
Brand,
again.
Yeah, development of a different whiskey.
Exactly. The general idea that I often come up against is, here's the bottle of whiskey. It's not coming from one barrel. It's not how Highland Park tastes. It's one way that Highland Park can be showcased. We're not this one bottling. We're not this one cask. And if it was like, so it's a blend, I'm like, yes, it's a blend of casks. Practically every whiskey that you've ever had is, which is different than a blended whiskey when we're adding some grain whiskey into the mix as well, which is different than having a blended a blended malt, which is when we like naked grouse, which is when we just take single malts and pour them together. So it's, and that's a whole other thing, which maybe we'll cover again, because it's been a while since we talked about that.
All right, nice. Okay, cool.
Great. Anything you want to plug from behind you? Do you want to plug any pluggables for products that I can see behind it? It's actually kind of freaky. So I can see that Omar joined in and like someone that I used to work with. And from my view, his face is like delicately placed over one of the bags. I'm like, whoa, Omar's got his own chips.
No, I mean it's just,
Nope.
Okay, well, it's pretty small, but it's like, there's all like the wines and things like that.
Wait, is this the new shop?
No, this is the old one. This is the original.
Okay. I have been in this one.
Yeah, we're actually 9 this month, which is crazy. Yeah, crazy. I don't know. Time's just flown by.
Wow.
Yeah. But no, that was really cool, dude. Just
to let everybody know, next week it's going to be a theory-based one because I won't be in the shop or at work. So yeah, it's a theory-based one next week as well. So
Love it.
yeah,
Great. Well, cheers, mate. Yeah.
Well, thanks for filling us in on all that. And I'll catch you next week.
Ciao, Tim. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.